Thanks, John. Okay, so I want to talk today about obsolescence and other challenges in multimodal scholarship. And I thought I'd start talking today by giving you a little bit of sense of the occasion for this. John's call went out for people to present, and I didn't think I had anything, and then slightly later I did, and I said, John, can I get on? And fortunately I got on. So a lot of this starts earlier in the summer with the release of the Apple MacBook Pro with Retina display. I'm a lifelong Mac user, and I'm kind of one of those Mac geeks that gets excited by every Mac rollout. So this summer there was a press event, and a bunch of things were released from Apple, and one of them was the new MacBook Pro, which has the Retina display. And the Retina display is also similar to the new display on the new iPad. And this is 2880 by 1800 pixels, which later I'll give you a sense of what that means. But this just packs a lot more pixels into a smaller space, so we get a crisper, cleaner image. So the displays on these computers are beautiful. The text no longer has that kind of jaggedness to it that a lot of us are used to seeing on text. So I got really excited when the MacBook Pro came out with Retina display. Now I just got to figure out how I'm going to get the university to buy me one. But I was also excited by what was new about the computer in the sense of the ports that it has. It has an HDMI port now, so you can connect your laptop right to your television. And it has these other ports. USB 3 is new to Mac, so that's exciting. And it has these Thunderbolt ports that allow really fast connections. And so I was really excited to see this computer. It then kind of dawned on me one interesting thing. This computer no longer has a DVD player. And at first, I sort of thought, well, wait a minute. When was the last time I put a DVD in my computer? And for that matter, when was the last time I put a CD in my computer? And I realized it had been forever, thanks to digital downloads. You can get so much off the web, off of iTunes. We used to install so many applications via CDs. We have the App Store now. I just don't really use my DVD player really for anything. I don't even burn or rip music anymore. That's just not something I do. So my immediate reaction was, okay, the DVD player's gone. Hey, Apple got rid of the floppy disk. And the iMacs came out, they said no floppy disks, and before we knew it, the floppy disks are phased out, and a lot of your PCs probably don't have them. And if you still have a PC with a floppy disk, I wonder how old your computer is, right? But some of us still want floppy disks, right? So you can get one in there because we need to access these. So, okay, this isn't that big of a deal, except unless you're somebody like me, who once upon a time worked on a project called Red Planet. And I should have put the lapel mic on because I want to wander around, but it was a project put onto DVD, if I have to. So my thinking about the DVD got amplified this summer when Curiosity landed on Mars and got all the press release, and we learned about 7 minutes of terror that the lander would go through before it landed on the surface and all of these things. And that only amplified my sort of thinking about Red Planet, which I've been thinking about a little bit anyway, as time had sort of passed. As a graduate student, I had the good fortune to be involved with the project behind Red Planet. There was a faculty member at Westford University that was interested in this project, enlisted other faculty to work with him at various institutions, as well as graduate students. And we produced what ended up being called Red Planet Scientific and Cultural Encounters with Mars. And we managed to get this published by the University of Pennsylvania Press. We worked on it in the late 90s, and it came out in 2001. Red Planet was conceived at the height of the hypertext mania. In the 90s in English studies, we were very excited about hypertext. We were very excited about nonlinearity. But we sort of, moving into this project, we're thinking a little bit more about, okay, what can we do with scholarship in new media? So the project was sort of conceived to be an effort to take scholarly rigor into digital technologies, or take digital technologies to pursue new frontiers in scholarship. So we put together something that was basically a multimedia scholarship. And Red Planet, basically it's a cross-disciplinary title. It's thesis-driven, it makes an argument. It includes video, text, audio, voiceover narration, interviews with NASA scientists, astrophysicists, literary and science scholars like Catherine Hales, which some of you might know in the humanities. We interviewed a science fiction writer by the name of Kim Stanley Robinson, who is most probably well known for the Red Mars, Green Mars, Blue Mars trilogy about terraformation of Mars. We tracked all these scholars, all these scientists, all these people down, we interviewed them, and we incorporated it into our argument. And basically the argument was we wanted to look at Mars as a scientific artifact and as a cultural artifact. Let's look at science fiction and look at science. What do we learn from this? We learned that for centuries, Mars has served as a screen upon which we have projected anxieties about life on Earth, especially ecological anxieties, which you can see in the idea of the dying planet from H.G. Wells' Mars. The Mars were coming because their planet was dying. The Martians were coming to Earth to take over Earth. So we put together this DVD, and we managed to get a press to buy the series. And then after Red Planet came out, there was 2 subsequent DVDs, one called Medicine and Moral Understanding, which combined literature, medicine, and narrative. And then one was called Biofutures, which combined bioethics and biocommerce. The thing about Red Planet is it came out in 2001, and you know, the whole time we were doing this, we were thinking about contributing to literary studies, cultural studies, science studies. We also were thinking about it as exploring the affordances of new media, and we saw that as part of the scholarship as well. So I'm going to show you the trailer here real quick. It's a movie trailer sort of like that we put together so people can see sort of what's going on in the DVD. So it doesn't have the interactivity of the DVD, but it shows you sort of what's going on.
Seeing Canal, Chaparelli, others before, Orson Welles, H.G. Wells, many of the Wills that have nothing to do with it. Why Mars? Mars has features on its surface. One of our, it's a neighboring planet with features that make us believe that we see seasons. Indeed, there are seasons.
Humanity, in order to be the humanity I want to be in, has to be has to be willing to get off their butt and get off their planet. Has to be able to move off the, Earth or ethnocentric one planet civilization into the galaxy. Has to become a Star Trek civilization. And that's the civilization I want to be in.
The fact of the matter is that we are much better prepared today to send people to Mars than we were to send people to the moon in 1961 when John F. Kennedy started the moon program.
For over 100 years, Mars has fascinated novelists, readers, moviegoers, and scientists. Martians have invaded the Earth in hundreds of science fiction novels and films. Thousands of scientific studies, beginning with Percival Lowell's books at the turn of the century, have sought to explain the planet's geography and climate. They have tried to imagine what life would be like on the Red Planet for indigenous species or future generations of human beings. Red Planet, Scientific and Cultural Encounters with Mars, offers an in-depth, cross-disciplinary exploration of the significant roles that Mars has played in 19th and 20th century astronomy, literature, and speculative thought. During this multimedia title, you will listen to prominent scientists, novelists, and visionaries. You will get a sense of the wide range of responses by leading experts to the prospect of human missions to Mars early in the 21st century. Mars, you will discover, is not only an object of scientific study, but a screen on which humankind projects its hopes for the future of civilization and its fears of ecological devastation on Earth.
Okay, so that was just a little trailer of all the different slides from the DVD itself. When you bought the DVD, it came in this big box, which is how software was sold back then. They sold you this box, and inside the box was the DVD case. Then inside the DVD case, you had your little DVD. You ran the DVD. It took over your whole screen, and you had all these little chapters that you could look at. And then as you scrolled over each chapter, you got a little rollover, told you what was in the chapter, and then you could go and learn more about it. And at the very end here was a website. The idea was that people could click on the website, and that's where you could go find more information that wasn't burned to the DVD. As you went through various chapters, you would have text. The voiceover narration that you just heard would read the text, so you didn't have to read, you could just listen. And then you could click on various audio bites. We had clips from the HD War of the World's radio broadcast. And then we had clips from movies and clips from interviews with scholars and scientists and whatnot. This is a clip from a movie called The Devil Girl from Mars. It was a movie from 1950s. Does anybody get a chance to ever see that? No. It's a movie about, there's a gender war on Mars, and Mars comes to Earth. They want to test their new doomsday technology, but also they need men. If in the breakout section you want to see these clips, I can show you the clips, because I do have the DVD with me. So, you got to see these sort of, this is the Devil Girl from Mars come to get men. Okay, so the box of the DVD makes a bunch of little promises here at the bottom of the front box. Those promises are that this is a cross-platform, fully interactive DVD-ROM. It contains more than 3 hours of high-quality digital video and acts as a mini server to access live connections to worldwide websites. Okay, so that was the vision of this project, circa 1990, whatever, and then it finally came out in 2001. So cross-platform. This was a great idea. It's going to work on your Mac. It's going to work on your PC. Within months of the DVD coming out, Mac OS X came out. Before that, if you're not a Mac person, Mac used to run Mac OS 9. And when Mac came out with OS X, they basically decided we're going to just redo our system and make Mac OS 9 a legacy system. Windows is the opposite. Windows just keeps building and building and building. So what works in Windows 7 will oftentimes, still run Windows XP stuff, right? If you've got stuff from your legacy days of Mac OS 9, it only worked for a few years in Mac OS 10, and now it doesn't even work anymore. So if I put the DVD into this laptop and try to run it, it's not even going to work anymore on Mac OS 10. This happened like within months of us putting this out, which was basically like getting slapped. Especially considering that we built the entire thing on Macs. Right? So the platform that we used to build this had basically just abandoned us at that point. And then we built it on DVD. And now the future is before us, digital downloads. This computer doesn't even have a DVD player anymore. How long before people don't even bother to get DVD players in their computer? When we built this program, we had laptops that didn't even have DVD players. That was like the big exciting thing, right? People have been complaining that Apple won't put Blu-ray DVD players in their computers. They won't because they feel the Blu-ray is a waste of time. Blu-ray is an HD DVD. They feel like we're going to skip that with digital downloads, so don't even bother. So they've basically gone right past Blu-ray. If you're trying to rebuy all of your movies in Blu-ray, I hope I didn't spoil things for you. Don't even bother. You're going to get digital downloads. So the DVD doesn't even, pretty soon you're not even going to have a DVD player to put in your Mac to even run, right? So this is obviously a concern for us. The reason why we went with DVD was because we wanted high-quality video. This is before YouTube. It's before streaming video at all. So all of our video were these QuickTime files, and they were huge. And so we needed a storage medium that could store all of these video files. So that's why we went with DVD. And we made why DVD a big part of our pitch. That this is a new sort of storage medium, and it's going to help us do all these interesting scholarly things. Except that's all over. YouTube sort of destroyed much of that because everything can be streamed now. You no longer need that kind of storage medium in that same kind of way. But not to mention, it's not even high-quality video anyway. These are 320 by 240 pixel videos. So on a lot of your computers, they're going to be pretty small. Maybe as big as this is on this screen at this resolution, but if you've got a widescreen monitor, some of those bigger monitors, this is going to be small. And you probably can't see it. I'm not sure if you could see it earlier, but the videos are really, really grainy. We actually did all this compression. We used to have to compress the video and then leave and come back the next day and hope the computer didn't crash overnight. So that was the process of building this. And nowadays, this stuff happens in minutes compared to that. So the video is actually really low quality. In fact, if you look at this still, Stoker, right? Between her hairdo, her stuff about the Star Trek civilization, and the video, you would think this came out in the 60s, not the 90s. I mean, this is 60s quality video almost, really. So, so the whole kind of idea of the selling point being video got sort of transformed by the technology that evolved. And then there was the idea of the access to the websites. We're thinking, okay, once we publish this thing into a DVD, it's burned. We want to be able to expand and extend the project. So everything will just shell out to the website. And the website, once upon a time, looked like this, which is what websites looked like once upon a time. You can see the Netscape browser window. And we had current debates and a timeline and mission and resources. So we're going to have a bibliography. Everything that came out, we'll put up on that bibliography. We're going to have a timeline of all the new Mars missions, and we're going to put resources up there. And we're going to have little blurbs about the missions and all that stuff. But the web left us way behind on a lot of that stuff. We'll talk about that in a minute. Not maybe a couple of years after this sort of all went live, if you went to the link in the DVD, you got a pen press error page. It basically no longer existed. They just took the files down at one point. I don't think they contacted anybody about this. It just gotten that underused. I don't know what happened. But basically, if you clicked on the link, it took you to this page that just tried to sell you some books and had nothing to do with the DVD. Okay. So basically what happened is everybody moved on. We finished the project. Robert Markley, the guy who was sort of the driving force behind the DVD, went on to publish Dying Planet, which is subtitled Mars and Science and the Imagination. It's that thick. And it's published by the Duke University Press, which carried a lot more weight institutionally for him, even with pen press on the label of this. When you get a chance to see this, it's neat, but it's not the same institutionally as this, right? So he went on to do that. Us graduate students went on to dissertations and jobs, and other people went on to tenure, and this basically went fallow. And I'm imagining it's in a landfill now somewhere, right? There's a piece of it sticking out of the dirt, right, or something like that. So welcome to obsolescence, right? Technology changed on us and left us behind. The DVDs that we made such a big argument for, they're not even going to be probably around. They'll be around, but they'll basically be in landfills, Lord knows where they'll be, right? They'll be on people's shelves, inaccessible. How long this will take, I don't know. It might take 10 years, 20 years, it might take 5 years, I don't know. But this is the problem, of course, of obsolescence. Which led to what I want to talk about today, challenges in multimodal scholarship. Now, I'm talking about a lot of negatives, but I think multimodal scholarship is really exciting. We were really into the idea of visualizing literary and cultural and science studies, taking scholarship into the visual realm, taking it into visual rhetoric, getting away from just quoting people and showing video interviews of them. When you see Robert Zubrin, the president of the Mars Society, talk about these things, you get his body language. You get all this nuance that's not there in a quotation. That adds a really interesting dimension, I think, to scholarship. So we had this idea that we thought that taking scholarship into the visual realm is an unexplored frontier, and that we want to explore it. So I think that's still a really interesting frontier for us to continue to move into. But it takes us into new challenges, like production values, right? If your work looks amateur, how does that affect how the scholarship is received, right? Those are things we have to think about. When you're writing a book, you don't think about those things. The design, a lot of stuff's taken right out of your hands. You don't have to sweat those details, right? But if you went to the realm of the visual, suddenly everything changes for scholarship. So today I want to kind of talk about the issues of obsolescence and accessibility. Let's talk about these things quickly because I don't have a lot of time. Sustainability and preservation, if you choose to work on these projects. These are the sort of lessons learned. From the very get-go, we thought about accessibility. We wanted everybody to be able to use this. So our idea was then to downward engineer, make this usable on all the computers out there, instead of future-proofing it and making it usable on computers to come, right? So we actually went with a 640 by 480 monitor resolution. That's what the monitors used to use. Nowadays, the new MacBook Pro has 2880 by 1800. I'll show you what the difference that means in a minute. We went with font choices like Arial. And if you know anything about typography, you know Arial is considered to be a poor man's knockoff of Helvetica. And even then, people think Helvetica is too used. And so if you ever get in an argument with a typographer, and I'll tell you what, it's like knife fights. Typographers are crazy. Typographers in the room, they get crazy about this stuff that a lot of people don't even think twice about, right? But Arial kind of adds a look, and the typography we use adds a look that affects the production values, those types of things. And we went with a very simplified interface and navigation. So this could be a very particular screen, and we just had a real simple menu bar at the top with really simple looking triangles so that you could click back and forth through the various different pages. And the screens themselves, we had a person who put a lot of effort into the design of them, But the navigation and all that stuff was really simple, and the screen itself was pretty small. Here is the MacBook Pro display, Retina display. It's 2880 by 1800 pixels. So basically what this means is on that computer you can see this entire picture. Now if you're looking at an HD TV, and they say this is a 60-inch HD TV, but they're kind of fooling you there because all HD TVs that are full HD have that same resolution. So whether it's 60-inch or 50-inch, it doesn't matter, right? So basically on your full HD television, that's all you would see of the picture. Right? So if you were to look at this picture on that particular computer, you'd see all this. If you were on a 60-inch high-definition TV, you'd have to scroll. Make sense? Okay. This is our DVD project in relation to the Retina display in relation to an HD television. So on an HD TV, it would be that small. On the Retina display, it's basically a postage stamp. Thank God we did the voiceover narration because you wouldn't even be able to read the text at that size. But you won't even be able to see this on a MacBook Pro anyway because it's on a DVD player, right? Unless you take it off the DVD. So anyway, I just wanted to give you a sense of how the technology changed left us behind. Sustainability, right? So we had this idea, we were going to update through the website, we were going to do these timeline updates, and hey, Curiosity lands on Mars. We could have put all this information up and been riding the wave of all of that. But like I said, everybody kind of went on their own ways, and before we knew it, the website was no more. And in fact, the domain name, the guy who owned the domain name let it lapse. It is now up for sale. If you go and buy this domain name, anybody that actually still has this DVD, clicks on that link, they can go to your website, right? So you can go and sell cars or sell whatever it is you want to sell, right? And so now they can clickjack, basically, legally, our whole sort of thing. So it's a shame that all this sort of happened, that people sort of forgot about this. But that's sort of a consequence of people sort of moving on with their scholarship or with their other sort of interests. But the domain name is basically lapsed at this point. And preservation, nobody thought about preservation. Nobody thought at all, like, what's the future of this? What are we going to do to make sure that future generations can see this? You write a book, it goes in the library gets rid of those books and puts it in a book depository to make room for computers, not to pick on the library or anything, but that book is still accessible. Somebody can go to the depository and get it, right? If the computers won't play this thing, it's basically no good. Even microfilm we can still, check. And a lot of people still go to the microfilm, right? But if you can't get it to DVD, what good is it, right? So preservation was something we never even thought to think about. Fortunately, people have since thought about preservation. People have run into the same problems as us. So I don't mean to scare anybody here, by saying there's all these sort of problems with investing a lot of time and energy into a multimodal scholarship project. Technology and time happened to us, but in reality, we also let it happen. We could have upgraded lots of different things. We could have moved this project online. It's just files on a DVD. It doesn't have to be on the DVD. It could be online. We could have put the videos into streaming video. We could have done all these things. We didn't. So a lot of that was our problem. And anyway, there's technologies now that would make a lot of this easier for us. So, if you were to start off by designing a project like this, I would, my recommendation would be to think about responsive design. People have learned, okay, we need to think about how design changes over time and how it changes over devices. And so there's an emerging sort of discipline among designers called responsive design, and this is design that scales across devices. So they want your web page to look good on a phone, on a tablet, on a laptop, on those huge monitors, right, and on a TV. And responsive design will do that. So this is a way to begin to sort of think about, okay, how can we prepare for obsolescence? How can we make the data accessible, knowing that the technology might change it? My other sort of recommendation would be honest about your commitment to sustainability. Be honest about what you really think you're going to do with this project after it's done. If we'd have changed the website into, Cole talked this morning about Web 1.0. That's basically what we were dealing with, was we just put the website up there, it was up there, and nobody else updated it but us. But if we would have went along into Web 2.0 and made this website interactive and crowdsourced it, we could have a huge mega database going right now with lots of resources and lots of traffic and lots of interesting, exciting things happening all the time. Among enthusiasts, what some people call expert amateurs, right, but also among scholars and scientists and people like that alike. But we basically bailed and lost on that sort of opportunity. And plan for preservation. Think about what's, Are we, if things change, are we committed to making the efforts to continue to have this be something that's accessible, right? Because obviously, if you put all this work into something, you know, and know that nobody can ever even look at it, that's going to be something that's going to obviously disappoint you, right? So see, there's some of the lessons that I sort of learned from working on this project. But again, not to scare anybody. I think the technology has changed in such a way, and the thinking has changed in such a way that we can still do great multimodal scholarship. We've just got to pay attention to what's going on with the sort of technology and the thinking about it and stay current with it. It's a commitment. And that's not necessarily something, you know, a lot of people like to finish their book and move on to something else. But sometimes you have to think, do I want this to be a one-off, or do I want it to be something that's extensionable and expandable? I think that's it.